Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel, the Gamer Hippie. And I loved the history of the world, I think, so much. And my son, myself, we're real history buffs. We are a multicultural family, and me myself hold most of the multi in that. And this is why. It's because just me myself, right? So not including what my husband adds into the mix of our family for our kids. I am Hawaiian, Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, Swedish, German, Irish, Micronesian, and Samoan. And there is a little bit of other things in there that they haven't narrowed down yet, but I'm sure that when you get down to it, a lot of us holds like some just amazing DNA. But I have a lot. So because I originate from Hawaii, born and raised, Japan is like a really big thing for us. We have a lot of Japanese culture there. We had the bombing of Pearl Harbor there. There's a lot of history between us and Japan for good reasons and not so good reasons. However, the coolest and most interesting thing about, seriously, about history is that no matter where you go in the world, the way they teach history is different than the way we look at history, right? So if you go to Japan and you listen to American history or what's happened when it comes to the country of America in Japanese history, you'll notice that it's different. They won't talk about specific things. This is the same for the UK, for Ireland, for Germany, for Sweden, in India. Everybody has their own version of history, depending on how they want their people to see things, right? What past they want their people to base their future or their present off of. It's all perception, right? So being able to control that perception, being able to control that history. And I love that historians are doing this. My history class during college were like my most interesting classes. I loved so much everything about the history. And what I loved about it the most was that they taught us that there's different types of history. You have history that comes from the very first, right? The ground-based ground. Like if I was to talk about my life and you heard it directly from me, right? That's a first primary source. Then they talk about a secondary source. And then most of the sources that we deal with right now are either secondary or tertiary sources. Very seldom are we actually getting our history and understanding from a primary source. So it's really interesting to go around and talk to different people in the world and see how their country and their culture actually sees their history versus how we teach history from where we come from in the world. So today we're going over Bill Wurtz. I'm so bad with my mouth not working the way I wanted to. History of Japan. So here we go. Ready? Let's get to it.
Japan is an island by the sea filled with volcanoes and it's beautiful. In the year -1 billion, Japan might not have been here. In the year -40,000, it was here, and you could walk to it, and some people walked to it. Then it got warmer, some icebergs melted, it became an island, and now there's lots of trees, because it's warmer. So now there's people on the island, they're basically sort of hanging out in between the mountains, eating nuts off trees, and using the latest technology, like stones and bowls. Ding dong, it's the outside world, and they have technology from the future, like really good metal and crazy rice farms. Now you can make a lot of rice really, really quickly.
I love
rice. That means
rice.
if you own the farm, you own a lot of food, which is something everybody needs to survive. So that makes you king. Rice farming and rice kingdoms spread across the land, all the way to here. The most important kingdoms were here, 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 and here. But this one was the most important, ruled by a heavenly superperson, or emperor for short. Knock knock, get the door, it's religion. The new prince wants everyone to try this hot new religion from Biekt. Please try this religion, he said. No, said everybody. Try it, he said. No, said everybody again, quieter this time. And so the religion was put into place.
And so there was religion.
With it. Then the government was taken over by another clique. And they made some reforms, like making the government govern more, and making the government more like China's government, which is a government that governs more. Hi, China, they said. Hi, dipshit, said China.
Ooh.
Can you call us something else other than dipshit, said Japan. Like what, said China. How about Sunrise Land, said Japan. And they stole China's alphabet and wrote a book about themselves. And then they made lots of poetry and art and another book about themselves. Then they stopped moving the capital every time the emperor died and kept it in one place for a while, right here. and they conquered the north finally. Get that squared away. A rich hipster named Kukai is bored with modern Buddhism, visits China, and learns a better version, which is more spiritual. Comes back, reinvents the alphabet, and causes art and literature to be great for a long time. And the royal palace turned into such a dream world of art that they really didn't give a shit about running the country. So if you live outside the palace, how are you supposed to protect your shit from criminals? Hire a samurai. Everyone started hiring samurai. Rich, important people hired samurai. Poor people who could not afford to hire samurai did not hire samurai. The samurai became organized and powerful, more powerful than the government, so they made their own military government. Here, they let the emperor still be emperor, but the shogun is actually in control. Breaking news, the Mongols have invaded China.
We've invaded China,
said the Mongols.
Please respect us, or else we might invade you as well.
Okay, said Japan. So the Mongols came over, ready for war, and died in a tornado. They tried again, and had a nice time fighting with the Japanese, but then died in a tornado.
What are the
Then the emperor
odds?
overthrows the shogunate. Then the shogunate overthrows him back and moves to Kyoto and makes a new shogunate. And the emperor can still dress like an emperor if he wants, that's fine. Now there's more art. Like painting with less colors, collaborative poetry, plays, monkey fun, tea parties, gardening, architecture, flowers. It's time for who's going to be the next shogun. Usually it's the shogun's kid, but the shogun doesn't have a kid, so he tries to get his brother to quit being a monk and be the next shogun. He says okay, but then the shogun has a kid. So now who's it going to be? Vote now on your phones. And everyone voted so hard that the palace caught on fire and burned down. The shogun actually didn't care. He was off somewhere doing
Two
poetry.
factions
And the whole
fighting
country
against
broke
each
into
other.
pieces. Everyone is fighting with each other for local power, and it's anybody's game. Knock knock, it's Europe. No, they're not here to take over. They just want to sell some shit, like clocks, and guns, and Jesus. So that's cool, but everyone's still fighting each other for control, now with guns. And wouldn't it be nice to control the capital, which right now is puppets, with no one controlling them? This clan is ready to make a run for it, but first they have to trample this smaller clan, which is in the way. Surprise, the smaller clan wins, and the leader of that clan steals the idea of invading the capital and invades the capital. And it goes very well. He's about halfway through conquering Japan when someone who works for him kills him, and then someone else who works for him kills them, and that guy finishes conquering Japan. And then he confiscated everybody's swords, and made some rules. And now I'm going to invade Korea, and then hopefully China, he said, and failed, and also died. But before he died, he told these 5 guys to take care of his 5-year-old son until he's old enough to be the next ruler of Japan. And the 5 guys said, yeah, right, it's not going to be this kid, it's going to be one of us, because we're grown-ups. And it's probably going to be this guy, who happens to be way more rich and powerful than the others. A lot of people support him, but a lot of people support not supporting him. They have a fight, and he wins, and starts a new government, right here. And he still lets the emperor dress like an emperor, and have very nice things. But don't get confused, this is the new government, and they are very strict. So strict they closed the country. No one can leave, and no one can come in. Except for the Dutch, if they want to buy and sell shit, but they have to do it right here. Now that the entire country was not at war with itself, the population increased a lot. Business increased, schools were built, roads were built, everyone learned to read, books were published, there was poetry, plays, sexy times, puppet shows, and Dutch studies. People started to study European science from books they bought from the Dutch. We're talking geography, skeletons, physics, chemistry, astronomy, and maybe even electricity. Over time, the economic and cultural prosperity began to gradually slow down. Knock knock. It's the United States.
Of course.
With huge boats, with guns. Gunboats. Open the country. Stop having it be closed, said the United States. There was really nothing they could do, so they signed a contract that lets the United States, Britain, and Russia visit Japan anytime they want. Choshu and Satsuma hated this. That sucks, they said. This sucks. And with almost very little outside help, they overthrew the shogunate, and somehow made the emperor again, and moved him to Edo, which they renamed Eastern Capital. They made a new government, which was a lot more Western. They made a new constitution that was pretty Western, and a military that was pretty Western. And do you know what else is Western? That's right, it's conquering stuff. So what can we conquer? Korea. They conquer Korea, taking it from its previous owner, China, and then go a little bit further. And Russia rushes in out of nowhere and says, stop, no, you can't take that. We were going to build a railroad through here to try to get some warm water. And Russia builds their railroad, supervised by a shit ton of soldiers. And then when the railroad was done, they downgraded to a fuck ton. Did I say downgrade? I meant upgrade. And Japan says, can you maybe chill? And Russia says, how about maybe you chill? Japan is kind of scared of Russia. You'll never guess who's also kind of scared of Russia. Great Britain. So Japan and Great Britain make an alliance together so they can be a little less scared of Russia. Feeling confident, Japan goes to war against Russia, just for a moment, and then they both get tired and stop. It's time for World War I. The world is about to have a war, because it's the 1900s and weapons are getting crazy, and all these empires are excited to try them out on each other. Meanwhile, Japan has been enjoying conquering stuff and wants more. And the next thing on their list is this part of China and lots of tiny islands. All that stuff belongs to Germany, which just had war declared on it by Britain because Britain was friends with Belgium, which was being trespassed by Germany in order to get to France to kick France's ass because France is friends with Russia, who was getting ready to kick Austria's ass because Austria was getting ready to kick Serbia's ass because someone from Serbia
like
shot the leader of
high
Austria's
school.
ass. Or actually shot him in the head. And Britain is currently friends with Japan, so you know what that means. Duh, Japan should take the islands. Which they wanted to do anyway, so they called Britain on the telly to sort of let them know. And then they did it. And they also helped Britain a little here and there with some errands and stuff.
Oh, shit.
Now the war is over, and congratulations, Japan. You technically fought in the war, which means you get to sit at the negotiating table with the big dudes, where they decided who owns what. And yes, Japan gets to keep all that shit they stole from Germany. You also get to join the post-war mega alliance, the League of Nations, whose mission statement is to try not to take over the world. The Great Depression is bad, and Japan's economy is now crappy, but the military is doing just fine, and it invades Manchuria. In the League of Nations, it's like, no, don't do that. If you're in the League of Nations, you're not supposed to take over the world.
Not supposed to.
And Japan said, how about I do anyway? And Japan invaded more and more and more and more of China, and was planning to invade the entire East.
You've got mail.
It's from Germany, the new leader of Germany. He has a cool mustache, and he's trying to take over the world and needs friends. This also got forwarded to Italy. They all decided to be friends because they had so much in common. It's time for World War II. Germany is invading the neighbors. Then they invade the neighbors' neighbors. Then the neighbors' neighbors' neighbors, who happened to be Britain, said, holy shit. And the United States started helping Britain because they are good friends, and started not helping Japan because they're friends and our friends are not friends. Plus they're planning on invading the entire ocean. The United States is also working on a large, very huge bomb, bigger than any other bomb, ever, just in case. But they still haven't joined the war. War looks bad on TV, and the United States is really starting to care about their image. But then Japan spits on them in Hawaii and challenges them to war. And they say yes. And then Germany, as a symbol of friendship, declares war on the United States also. So the United States goes to war in Europe, and they help the gang chase Germany back into Germany. And they also start chasing Japan back into Japan. And they haven't used the bomb yet, and are curious to see if it works. So they drop it on Japan. They actually dropped 2.
Yeah, that part still kind of makes me angry. It's just not even kinda makes me angry. I don't like thinking about that. Great loss of life.
The United States installed a new government, inspired by the United States government, with just the right ingredients for a post-war economic miracle. And Japan starts making TVs, VCRs, automobiles, and camcorders as fast as they can, and also better than everybody else. They get rich, and the economy goes wild, and then the miracle wears off. But everything's still pretty cool, I guess.
Yep, and that's it. And we have, what do we got? We have what makes everything cool, like anime, right? So that was it. That was the history of Japan by Bill Wurtz. And this is the understanding that that teacher, history buff, has for what we see in the world. I guarantee you that if it comes from a different country, a different history teacher's perspective, that culture's perspective, that you are actually going to hear something different. Maybe some additional things. But we're looking at global history as what is like openly known and taught within the Western world, predominantly the United States. This is kind of what we know and what we've learned and what has been shown to us. But in a very fast, condensed, squished version, right? I thought it was super fun. If you thought it was fun, go ahead and leave me a comment. Don't forget to like this video and to remember to subscribe to my channel. And, you know, if you haven't done so yet, like, blow up your notifications button so that you know when new videos are coming. A really interesting reaction to this video, the history of Japan, coming from a Japanese history teacher. I think that you guys would really love to look at those reactions too. So, you know, here's the card. Bing! I will make that sound effect for you. Check out her video. See how awesome that stuff is. And then don't forget, I love to engage my audience, and I would like to know the kind of videos that you would like me to react to. I love this stuff. I love lots of stuff. You know what I haven't done enough of? I haven't done enough music. I haven't done enough reactions on specific kind of television or movies, because I really kind of don't have time to watch those kind of things unless you guys give me an excuse to. So down in the comments below, let me know what kind of videos that you really love and react to. I did put a post today talking about what kind of videos that you watch on your Facebook and your YouTube accounts most, what kind of things you enjoy, kind of give me an idea of what to look forward to. And of course, if you would like to connect with me, and there is my Facebook page Also, my website, thegamerhippie.com, where you can check out my vlogs, you can check out my blogs, and you can check up me, what I do, and the kind of favorite brands that I have for all the other things that I like to do in my life. So if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and check that out. I'll put that down below as well. But don't let this end. Go ahead and keep this party going. Here are your next videos to go ahead and take a look at. Don't forget to check out that other reaction to the history of Japan that I put in the card earlier in this video. And I want you guys to remember to be kind, be love, be brave, be you, and I will see you next video.